Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Ministry Down Under webcast. I'd like to introduce my co-host Karen. Hi, Karen.
Hi.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Ministry Down Under webcast. I'd like to introduce my co-host Karen. Hi, Karen.
Hi everyone, how you going?
And today we've got a special guest, Dave Wakerley, all the way out from Sydney.
All the way out from Sydney, in the wop-wops of Sydney.
Well, we're down the bottom of Australia, so
Right.
it just seems a long way away. So,
It does, another world.
So how's things up in Sydney town, Dave?
It's lovely. The weather is absolutely lovely at the moment. It's my favourite time of year, autumn. So it's actually really nice. It's really nice in terms of that side of things.
Yep.
At least the weather's good, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So it's a pretty challenging times in kids ministry at the moment. Like, what are some of the what are some of the big changes that you've had to make as we've gone into this season of lockdown?
Well, we immediately decided. Well, okay, so I guess we'll start from the beginning. I guess let me give you the history of what we ended up doing. So at church, Hillsong Kids, kids ministry kind of functions anytime church is on. Hillsong Kids is on. We try and as much possible. You don't treat it like almost not like a program or a club or anything. We're just saying this is what church is for our families. So we carried that across to what we do online for all of these streaming services. So we literally anytime there's an adult service on streaming, there's a kids service available. So that was our philosophy going into it. So that informed what we did.
Yep.
Which was, now that we have 11 services from Friday to Sunday, we do all 11 services with Hillsong Kids. So that was the starting point. And then we said, well, what do we do? What do we do with our kids? So there was figuring out that side of things of what are we going to actually stream with the kids, how are we going to do the whole video streaming side of things, and then there's a whole discussion about midweek ministry we can talk about, but I guess I'll focus on that. Was just going, all right, let's just do a kind of a hangout service and cut to our content, our videos, our curriculum that we use. But I think the main point that we decided is to go live every single one of those 11 services. So it's live discussion with kids. It's not we can give them shout outs, we can talk directly to them. So that was the big decision we made, and that's great. What we've done going forward.
Wow. And your live, is that through Zoom or is it through YouTube or social media? How are you doing your lives?
Right, well, we have Hillsong Kids. We've been building our Hillsong Kids YouTube channel for a long time. Just went through 100,000 subscribers, which is incredible.
Wow.
Because I don't know how many other kids ministries around the world have. So it's a significant, not a big number in the world of YouTube by any means, but it is significant for us. So that has been fantastic. So we've put a lot of effort into YouTube, and so we kind of thought, well, that's a natural platform to use. And especially with the changes to YouTube that happened a couple of months ago, which mean that there's no chat that can happen on a kids channel. They've made it a little bit safer, and most of those aspects have in a sense made it a safer place for kids, but we went all in on YouTube. So we schedule 11 services, 11 live streams across a weekend, and we have 3 at the moment. It started out a little bit different, but at the moment we have 3 locations that we stream from. So our city location, which is right in the heart of Sydney, our Hills location, and then up in Brisbane, we have one of our guys who's a guru at all of the streaming stuff who runs this kind of studio there. All 3 of those studios initially started with the exact same look. We ordered a big yellow banner for the background. We put it up behind all of the studios so the kids really couldn't tell where you were streaming from. I mean, you could have been in a basement. You could have been anywhere. Yeah. It's just a yellow background.
Now or a coffee shop.
It could be a coffee. 100%. So that's how we kind of started it off. This idea that we'll have a lot of different locations, because then that's going to keep us safe. If we're separating the teams out. So if something happens to one of the teams, we can keep going. It's been a bit of a challenge with distancing, and there's some weird rules that we've had to put in place. If we are streaming from a home location, married couples can kind of be together. If we're streaming from our work location, we've got to be 1.5 meters apart, and that's made some challenges for us. But we're trying to do our best to abide by the guidelines, and sometimes they're a little bit onerous, but from our perspective, because a married couple is a married couple at home or in the city, but or in the office. But so as much as possible, we try and abide. We do abide by those, and now we're down. But in our Hills location, we're experimenting now that we're a few weeks in. Are we changing the way that it looks? What are we going to be doing? We had a big conversation yesterday with some of our team about, all right, we've started strong. We've got a system going on. Let's continue to innovate this idea. So that's what we're doing. And so we will, across the weekend, go to different, I'll do Saturday night. I'm the Saturday night guy. So I drive into the city, go to I'm the only one in the office, like literally it's an abandoned building. I'm there just with me and my wife, and my teenage son runs our stream. So he'll be there running it. And so we go in, and it's crazy because that building has been around for 30 years now, and I've never seen it. It's so strange. Like on a Saturday night, nobody's there. It's usually thousands of people around, and you walk in and you're there by yourself. So I'll do that on Saturday, and then I drive to Hills for Sunday morning. We do that. So anyway, and this is unusual to me, and I think people watching. I've been searching for other children's ministries that are doing the live stream as well, because in my opinion, as a guy who grew up with I was the perfect age, 40 years old now, so I grew up with the internet. In the 90s, I was a big computer nerd, and it made complete natural sense for me to do live streaming with kids. They need that immediate. It's not just about playing videos for them.
Yeah.
And I'm still struggling to find other churches that are doing that, with their kids. A lot of people are pre-recording. And I found one other church that will do a Zoom call. Very good Zoom call like this, but there'll be a host who will actually play media and play videos, and then they record that Zoom call and put it up on YouTube for later viewing. Love it, fantastic. But still, anyway, I'm kind of waffling, but I feel like I don't know what the barrier is, but in my mind, pre-recording something is harder than doing a live stream, because in a live stream there's if you make a mistake, it's okay because it was live. If you make a mistake in pre-recording, you've got to do another take, and I'm very confused sometimes by looking at what other people are doing and they're going, oh no, I'm putting all this effort in and nobody's watching. I said, well, stop putting the effort in and go live. And because you'll get the interaction with your kids. Now, in saying that, we have to be very careful how we do chat. So the way that we're doing it right now, because I believe that what the kids value most is just that immediacy of the moment. And getting them back next week it's so much about being able to talk directly to the person that you're watching. So what we've done is every single service that we do, we have an Instagram post, and underneath that are all the comments. So we will literally say, comment on our latest Instagram post for a shout out. Now, that means we're covered by the Instagram privacy policy, also for the fact that parents have their own account, not kids. So it's a parent's Instagram account they're commenting from. So we take away a lot of the issues of privacy and danger, like chat situations which can be unsafe. Now, is it ideal? No, it's not at all, but it's something that we've figured out a way around that. So we will literally have a team, every service there is somebody assigned to copying the comments from Instagram, posting it on a Google document, which the host will see in front of them, which is a painful process again, but all we have to do then is have the Google document open in front of us, and we can continue to do shout outs. It's a step between. So anyway, I've kind of vomited a lot of information out there. So I'll maybe pause. And if is this helpful? I don't know.
It is really helpful.
I was going to say, one of the things that my daughter's been doing, she's 4 years old, so in their Bible study group, they've got a creche, so every week they used to go to the location, do it, but they've been trying to do it over Zoom. So this is one of the things I've been discussing with the leaders as well. It's like, how do you engage little children? Because as you said, you need to engage them personally. You can't just reference them once in an hour and hope that they won't be jumping up and down or running around or just run off, Early childhood is different. It's a tricky one for us. Every single service we say, if you've got it, and I've literally have this written down that we say as in a script, it says, if you have
younger brother or sister who don't go to school yet, we've got a video just for them. Now, it's just a video on YouTube on demand, and they'll watch it. So there is no interaction for preschoolers. It's something we haven't quite figured out yet.
I don't think anyone has.
And I don't. So at the moment, we just say jump on there and watch that. And that's until we figure out something further. We've talked about this a lot. How do we do that better? But at the moment, that's what we're doing. We are doing a few things midweek. Our strategy midweek is so Instagram is kind of our platform of choice. It's a platform that our church uses, and I would encourage any church watching that. You kind of want to almost commit to one platform a little bit. You don't want to be all things to not all things. You do want to be all things to all men. That's a Bible thing, but you don't want to be dividing your focus. Sometimes you want to say to people, "Hey, the information's going to be here." To be honest, it's an interesting topic for your own location. Do you commit to one platform, or do you spread everything out? That's a big, for me, I like focusing on, here's the information, here's where it's going to be. So we'll midweek do videos every single day. And this is again, we're trying this out. It seems to be working at the moment. Are we overloading families? Are they even engaging with the midweek stuff? But you can check out Hillsong Kids on Instagram and see what our daily things are.
So are you using scheduling tools to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, I think we just started using one called, I was using Mention. There's a site called Mention, but their scheduling is messed up at the moment, and they've got a bit of technical problems. And I just know, what's the system we're using? It's good to know what other people are using. I know that my friend Ben, I haven't used it yet. It's actually only about a week. We just started using it a week ago. Oh man, if I find it, I'll let you know. But it's just any one of them is pretty. Yeah,
there's a few like Social Bee. I think even TweetDeck does Instagram now and a few other things as well. So
Mention
there's a few of those.
Agora something I used. Not agoraphobia. That's fear of open bodies of water, but it's Agora something. Agora Pulse.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Agoraphobia isn't that fear of wide open places? I don't know. So we use a scheduling system for that.
And who puts that content in? Is that generally the key pastors? Do leaders help with that? Or
when this all started, our team got together and reorganized. We all basically said, whatever your job description was, it's probably not what it's going to be. So we all committed to getting in our minds a new job description. So our staff, and in terms of our staff, it's a blessing to have it. But across Australia now, it's probably 30 people maybe, and that's so people focused on kids ministry, which is a huge. Like we've come a long way since I started in 2001. I started doing kids ministry.
Oh wow! Yeah.
So we have a very healthy team, like a significant team, which is a massive blessing. So every one of those is doing something in this new era. We've all been reassigned in a sense. So one of our team, a couple of our team have background in design, graphic design, stuff like that.
Design.
Which is also the trickiest. Like it's one of those things that I know we all struggle with. Like sometimes is just that. You never have enough design. I feel like we never have enough design, and also finding the right people. So but we have a couple of amazing people on our team who have taken that on and are doing all of that side of things.
Cool. With say smaller churches, how would they get that sort of content done? Would they just reach out to people in their church, perhaps? And
it's I think it's definitely like it's for me. I've had to learn over the years to do that kind of stuff. I guess I'm wired that I would not recommend. I don't know, unless you've got some kind of gift and talent for it. It's a real fine line because there are. It's a really interesting question. It's very much finding someone with a gift and talent, or some, but also then investing in getting paying someone to set up some templates is also a great way of doing it. That's a really interesting question. We've always struggled with that, finding enough help with that, because I've overseen it for years as part of my role, but I acknowledge that I am not good at it, and It's not something I want to do, really.
Yeah.
Just that kind of side of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
That'd be right up your alley a bit, Karen.
Yeah, just a bit.
All that stuff.
No, that's good.
So yeah, so what are some of the challenge of, I guess, of managing? I guess you've got the distributed team thing down quite well over the years. What were some of the challenges during this period with communicating with your team and things like that? So,
right. Well, I guess that wasn't too much of a hard thing because we're spread out all over Australia.
Yep.
And when I'm talking about Hillsong Kids, obviously we exist around in other countries, but our focus is Australia. Our big focus. And going through this whole time, we've connected with other locations around the world and help them out a little bit, especially in the live streaming side of things, because we have well established in that. We have a TV studio here in Sydney. We've the team so it's been quite easy for us to jump into that, but we've had to kind of hold up the other teams a little bit and help them get their feet. But in Australia, we already have done. We use our church has got a life size, which is it's basically like Zoom, but I know we do life-size meetings every single week, and we've done those for staff meetings for years. So we're quite used to meeting together online. So that was not a jump at all. We're just like, we just keep doing those meetings, and out of those meetings is it's pretty much. Then the rest of the job is a bit tricky figuring out what to do, but that was easy.
Okay. Yep. So I guess the reverse of that, as we go back into normal church, so to speak, what's that going to look like? Because obviously different states are going back at different times and things like that. Yeah. There's social distancing policies. What's Hillsong doing in that area?
Okay, so this is
change-wise, I guess.
100%. This is very interesting. This is the question that we're all kind of just started to grapple with, really. I don't know. Like, there's honestly, I know our Pastor Brian, our senior pastor, mentioned this in our staff meeting on Tuesday. He was articulating the fact that he's very much committed to these live streaming. I know we're investing heavily into it as a church in terms of equipment and gear, kind of pivoting a little bit. So right now, the only kind of indicator we have is that we're very much going to continue this, put a lot of effort into this live streaming connection situation as Hillsong Church. So that's really the only... that's the indication that we have at the moment. Yeah,
you've got to go by the boss. Yeah,
100%. And so I'm like, great, we're all in on that. Fantastic.
That's it.
So in terms of coming back, we really haven't had any solid conversations. What we have had a discussion is Hillsong Kids going, well, do we want to continue doing these live streams? I did a test. The funny thing was I did a 5-week test last September, October, doing every weekend I'd do a live stream just at my house with my son. My son is a big streamer. He's 14 and he streams every single day on Twitch with Fortnite. So it's his little hobby. And he's doing great on that. So I literally jumped on his rig. Well, he's just very lucky that he's got a nerd as a father, because he's living the dream that I would have had when I was 14. So I buy him all the computer bits he needs because I love making. So he's lucked out with having me as his father, because I'm like, here's a computer. We've put all the computer bits together. I just used his system. And we did 5 weeks, just him and me, just doing a test on this. And I think it was the Lord preparing us a little bit for what was to come. Because I just thought, let's just try this out, because we were talking about doing online video, and you can actually see those early tests up on our YouTube channel. I think they're still up on there. You can look back to last October.
Nice.
And then the conversation is now is, well, what do we want to do what are we going to do in the future? So I can probably say, here are the thoughts that this is just the thoughts. I'll just give you the thoughts that we're having, because this may help other churches plan ahead. One of our big things was our locations are some of them are big and some of them are small. We have locations who meet in school halls, in movie theatres, all that around Australia, around Sydney, around everywhere. Some of those, it's tricky to do church in some of these situations, like a movie theatre. It's a real challenge. Like, kids are in a cinema, and it's just I've visited a number of them over the past year, and it's a whole different situation the teams have very different pressures. Volunteers run it. It's all volunteer led. So we, as much as possible as staff, my wife Becky especially, is very much focused on helping these other locations. We're both based in the city, in Waterloo and Alexandria and Sydney, but we're Becky's out and about a lot, my wife. So the question is, maybe here's our one thought, is that potentially if these services are on at the same time, we could, in a sense, at these locations, all you would need to do is hit play on a YouTube video. We could almost lead these services with a live stream and then an MC, a host at that location, and we could, in a sense, almost run the service via a live stream, take away the pressure from them of all of the content, switching videos and music and sound. If you've got a TV with some speakers on it, we could literally, potentially, this is one of our ideas, is to keep these going, not only for the audience that is connected around the world, but also all of these locations that maybe who are run by volunteers. All they need then on a weekend is a host that we as the stream would literally talk to. Hey, if we've got, let's say, 6 services and they're all got different people in them, they hit play. We talk to them. We get them to do things. We'll say, hey, there's a timer on the screen for 60 seconds. I'll be back after that. Your leader's about to, pray for you guys and all this kind of stuff. So that's one of our thoughts.
That's good.
That solves a problem that we've faced, which is our smaller locations and technical ability and volunteer run. Helps raise the level of, and it also then gives us a reason to do these live streams as well. But also, anyway, so that's one of our thoughts. Then potentially that could be used by any church to
exactly.
with a phone and a Chromecast and a screen.
Exactly. Put it up there. That's all you need, and so that's the one big idea. Honestly, that's the big thought at the moment. We're just figuring that one out.
Oh, it's an interesting space at the moment because there's lots of thoughts and no one's really settled. I know even in church operations groups on Facebook all around the world, people are like discussing this. How do we come back? Do we do drive-in church? Do we do in America? Drive-in church is huge.
It is.
So and like just even things like doing communion with sealed cups to everything. And then do we just get people wiped on the way in and out, or do we like wipe down the seats after every service, and like what do we need to use and what chemicals, and there's all these discussions. You're like,
absolutely,
like how far do you go?
Well, we really haven't. I think we're a long way away from. I feel like we're going to err on the side of caution. With some of the service, like at Hills on a Sunday night, 4,000 people in the room. That's a different conversation than some of our other locations with 100 people in the room. So. That's really, haven't even gone there at all. And because also I feel like a lot of, like if anybody wants to, you can just jump on our YouTube or hillsong.com/online. It's a very, we've gone all in on this. And we've figured out a lot of things, and we have one of the greatest things. There's a couple of things that we've done. We just started doing a Auslan service for kids.
That's great.
We pre-record one of them, and then somebody signs over that, and so that just started. We tried it out last weekend, and that for me is. We would have never have done this, done that if it hadn't been for this situation. And that says a lot. With our special needs ministry, we can probably talk about that treasure chest. That's, for me, it's anytime we get to do anything like that, which is maybe not the core, hey, all the kids are here in a room situation, but that is just, it just says so much, I think, to... I tell our treasure, every time I get to talk to our special needs team, I'm like, you literally save marriages just with what you, with your parents these parents being able to get to church and knowing and our Hills is our biggest, Hills location in the northwest of Sydney. We have 4 rooms, very well, like just an unbelievable team over there who just, it's a complete ministry to all these kids, all the way up to teenagers. Like that's a tricky thing for us, as we're so used to dealing with kids, but we're also now dealing with teenagers who have grown up in our church all through, and they're still around with us. Anyway, it's that's been amazing for us.
Because that was one of the things I was about to ask. Actually, is like, what are you doing? Because you run Treasure Chest. Do you want to talk around Treasure Chest tongue twister.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, and how that came about, and what
Right.
you're doing there, just quickly. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, for us, additional needs ministry, special needs additional needs ministry was a big deal for us. A few years ago, we had Craig Johnson from Lakewood Church in America, the big Lakewood Church. Now, Joel Osteen's church. So Mike Johnson, not Mike, Craig Johnson is the ministry's oversight there, but he has a special needs child with autism, and he started a ministry in their church called
Champions Club.
Champions Club, 100%.
Mm.
Now, Craig is he's the loveliest. He's one of the greatest pastors on earth I've ever met. Like in that, when you see these big churches like Lakewood, and it's kind of the big name underneath that at these levels in those churches, I've seen a lot of them. There are just gold people, Craig is one of these just solid gold people. He started this, the ministry is just incredible. So we basically copied what they did and copied what they do. So they came over, they've talked at our conferences, we've had him over, but he's just a fantastic, just an absolutely, just a shining star of a man. And he, so we copy what he did, but for us, it was really important for us to do something. We've always done something over the years, but what we try and do is now at Hills, we have a great facility in the city, in our Alexandria, in Sydney. We have 2 rooms dedicated to that. So anywhere we can, we try and make space for it.
Yeah, I know they got one Melbourne East. I think they've got one now too. So,
yes.
Yeah.
So any new building that we make, that we build or take on, that's always the question. One of the questions, which is again another blessing to be in a church that sees the value of that. And but also we deal with places without, there's one of our North Shore Sydney locations kind of got booted because of renovations, and their new location is just a nightmare for families. So we deal with all the spectrum.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
They have to walk down the road for a little bit and go into a different building. And I mean, even in London was Hillsong London over the years of being there, and church was in a theatre, like a West End theatre. And Hillsong Kids is in the hotel over the road.
Oh yes, yep.
So
I know they do that in Melbourne too sometimes. Yeah.
They do that in Melbourne sometimes as well. We get booted.
Yeah.
So we have to kind of deal with the full gamut. It's with multiple locations. It's just figuring it out. So I don't know what the question was, but I said some words.
Just to do with treasure chests, but I think that's great to know. The other thing is, it's great to know that you guys are still working it out too, because I think sometimes people look up to churches like Lakeside and Hillsong and say they've got it all together. Give us the answer.
Here's what I've discovered after going to conferences for many years, ministry conferences. No ministry is as good as what is presented at a conference. There is someone still going to ring up and not turn up, on volunteers not going to turn. When I started, we would go to. Back in the day for kids ministry, Willow Creek Church at the turn of 2000s, early 2000s, they were huge conference for kids. And then you would get to see, and I'm not saying, I just whenever you look at any kind of church, just know they're struggling with the same things as you are. And there is tension behind the scenes, and that tension of volunteers and leaders and all that stuff, and nobody's as good as they present. That is the truth. So I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying when I talk about I talk about what we do, it always sounds better than it really is. Yeah. You just got that. I guess responsibility of more locations, and some bigger and some smaller. So the problems are just multiplied. The tensions are just multiplied, and it's. But also in saying that, the one thing I deal with a lot is feel like a lot of children's ministries feel unsupported, and that is a difference. That is the starting point. I've told people, they've said, hey, my pastor wants me to take on this. We wants to start children's ministry in our church. I want to do this. And I said, well, what's your budget? And he goes, they haven't given you any. I said, well, don't do it. If they can't value it with a budget, then don't even try, because you won't get it. If you start with zero and you double zero in a year, and you double your zero budget in a year, it's still zero. But if you start with $10, you know what I mean? That's you start with that's so
Some
stuff
value.
like that.
Yep.
That's so I feel like aside from that, most of the times we've had an amazingly supportive. We've respected the budgets that we've got and built a reputation of that our church leadership can trust what we do, and so we get a lot of flexibility. Nobody told us what to do for streaming. We just went ahead and did it,
Yep.
and we didn't have to get permission. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah. So what are some of the other churches around the world that you kind of like pick and choose some really cool stuff from over the last year, perhaps, or two?
We connect really well with churches that come to a Hillsong conference.
Okay.
Like if our senior pastor Brian is friends with their senior pastor, we're going to be friends with their, because we need to. There's a reason they're connected.
Yep.
So we're going to get connected if we can as well.
Yep.
So a lot of the time it's connecting with the churches that come over. I think, and especially early on when we were growing in the 2000s, especially kids, we visited a lot of churches. So Saddleback Church in California. We're great friends with their team, you know, as much as possible. The team's always changing, but as much as possible, we connect with those guys.
Yeah.
And Lakewood Church is just great friends, and mainly because of Craig and what he's done. Just their team over there is just amazing, and they have one location, and it's very different. And we get jealous sometimes because what they can pull off with one location, we're like, oh, well, if we had one location, we could do that too. But a lot of the times they're just their kids ministry team there. What they do is fascinating to look at. I think Elevation Church, which is that preacher guy. Oh, gosh.
Steve Furtick.
This is embarrassing because I'm just remembering this is recorded. Stephen Furtick. I know Stephen Furtick. Their team is. They are on another level of intensity. That church. And we've connected with some of their team over the years, and it's like some of us look and go, wow, okay, we think we're intense. There's a lot. They are up there. So a lot of the times, and then a good friend of ours, Jim Weidman, who's done kids ministry since the 70s, right? In America, I think. So we've a lot of these guys, as much as possible, just talking, especially those that are dealing with, because to be honest, sometimes ministry for us is just dealing with logistics. That's always a part of what we do, and so you just need to have good models to learn from. You can't compare a conference of 50 kids to a conference of 2,000 kids. You just need to go logistically. How do you move those 2,000 kids to here? And so a lot of the times our learning is logistical, so that's where you need these. Learning from bigger anything is fantastic. You know what I mean?
Yes. And there's a lot of us that learn from you too, David.
Well, it's lovely to hear. Well, one of the things that we try and emphasize is that Hillsong Church is, a location of 100 people in a location of whatever. So everything that we try and do as Hillsong Kids, we want it to work for a group of 10 kids in a room. So that's our mission. So I really appreciate hearing you say that, because it is kind of what we try and achieve with all the resources that we put out. And we acknowledge that it's very, very unusual in our country to have such a big staff. I mean, that's unheard. Like churches would it's mind-blowing, even for me to see where we've come from, from a team of 10 of us 20 years ago to where we are now, and so many. So it's a big responsibility, but we also, part of what we do is we really feel like we try and focus on the things that matter, focus on the things that are important, and because you can focus as what we can do. We can have the greatest idea in the world and pull it off, but an idea is, an idea is not just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. So we keep coming back to the idea that we are just here to be the church with our kids. So it's not create the church for our kids; it's be the church with our kids, and we approach it with the idea that we are missionaries. And we do not go in. We are in a foreign. I've talked about it for 20 years, but we're missionaries in a foreign land. We do not go and impose our own expectations and beliefs on this group of kids, because we need to come and understand their culture and their world. And that's hopefully the way we approach ministry, is like as missionaries in a foreign land, there to learn and join in. The big idea is we're joining in with what God's already doing. We're not bringing Jesus to this group of kids. Jesus is already there. He's already there with the kids. We are joining with him in that ministry. Amen.
Yeah, that's great. Just double backing a little bit back to special needs kids.
Yes.
While you're online, have you got any initiatives there? You've obviously got the signing stuff going now. It's a really hard area. So how have you tackled that?
Oh man!
Or have you tackled that yet?
Here's the thing. I'm going to forget something. I know that we've talked about. There's so much going on in the last few weeks. I do know we had a conversation about treasure chest and getting them involved. Man, there was. I know we're trying some things out. Again, it's it's media, video based. I think potentially we were filming some of our leaders talking to, because again, it's a smaller number of kids.
Yeah,
it's a different approach you have. You don't just kind of one fits all. That's literally the definition of special needs ministry, is one does not fit all. Every kid is an individual. You need to treat them as such. So I would imagine that I know that our team had talked about it. I cannot for certain say things that we're trying.
No, that's cool. Yeah.
But it's that we are definitely in some way trying to, and I think it potentially was even personalizing maybe videos to the child and just being one-on-one with them, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's great.
I would say big picture is we're approaching it as an individuals, and I think we can do that with our treasure chest team. It's not this giant thing that I think we can look at each kid and go, how can we help that kid? That's by the way I think we're approaching it.
Yep. And I think that could be something that smaller churches could do too.
Like
if they've got a smaller group, you could really individualize out, and especially with birthdays and things like that. Just little touches like that, I think.
Well, I haven't really talked about the pastoral side of what we're doing, but most of it doesn't take a big team to pull off. It doesn't take all of our team to pull off our weekend services. So a lot of our pastors, our kids' pastors, are focusing on that during the week. And they're doing the things like dropping off stuff at houses and doing lots of calls. Thing we've just started doing is this is Zoom watch parties. We're trying things out. So we would get with there'd be a group of and it's everything with this is child safety. Like there's very clear guidelines we need to follow. And so just so you know, behind all of what I'm saying is child safety processes that we are well over we're very strict on those. And
what are some of the key ones that people would need to know if they're just at a smaller church and they might? Obviously, everyone's over the general guidelines for children, but what are some of the ones online that they might not be aware of?
It's I think the big picture is this: never be in contact with a child if the parent isn't aware about it. And if everything is just through the parents, I guess it's all very. And we also err on the side of, like, basically for us on social media, all of it's under 12, it's 13 and under. We just don't go there. We don't encourage any kind of social media use. That's the bottom line. It's just for teenagers, it's different. As soon as you hit 4, because 13, you have to be 13 to have most accounts. So for us, generally speaking, it's just a big no. So anytime we're communicating, it's like to parents essentially. But also it's also in the open. It's public. Any kind of communication is also, there's very little private messaging. It's all anything, even if it's the parents, it's like public. So guidelines like that. But just on the general, honestly, avoid it if you can. Any kind of social media stuff. It's just one of the that's our baseline really. Like week to week in the normal in the old world, there was just there was no strategies for social media, and we tell like I've tried to say, anytime we're on live streams, like, hey, grab your parents' phone on their account, comment. It's not on your account. We don't even like. I've played with that. Like I've said, hey, by the way, anybody jump on the thing, and of course you're not using your own account, right? I'll do that live just to pay them out, because parents are. I'm not going to. What's the word? Irresponsible. And I think it's good to pay them out for that. Responsibility in a nice way.
Yeah, that's good. It's kind of like the Muppets, where there was always an adult joke and a kid's joke.
For sure, absolutely. Well, that's us. Yeah, some of our comedy is not for the kids; it's for the leaders.
Because it's interesting because Facebook's just released Facebook Messenger for Kids.
Right.
It's basically a messenger. My kids have been using this to contact their cousins and some of their school friends, where when you message, every message goes through the parent's messenger as well. So everything that's said, the parent can monitor on their phone as well. So not even the same device. You can be on a totally different device. That's opening up a whole different sphere.
Yeah, there's potential there.
Responsible, managed conversation.
I think we need that.
Yeah.
We need really solid tools for that. Like the world is catching up with what we are trying. Yeah. So yes. And that's something that messaging app for kids, it's definitely something we'll be looking into. We'll be very slow to move. I know Hillsong Church will be very slow to move on anything until it's very well established. It's almost like it's the we're not waiting for the legal right to do it. We're waiting for society to be okay. Like, you know what I mean? There's a shift in attitudes. I'd say that.
And a common sense collective approach to it rather than just leading the way. It's just because
you don't need to lead the way. You can lead the way in a lot of things, but this area is something that I don't know. That is a good point. It is a really even saying that sentence. Well, I guess we can lead the way in so many areas. I think when it comes to child safety, always err on the side of the safety rather than the innovation. I don't know if that's a good way to say it, but you know what I mean.
That's a good way. Use wisdom, I guess. That's the Bible says, in everything use wisdom. So
absolutely.
We just jump in and just hope for the best, and in those sort of areas that doesn't work. Yeah, that's right. So just with your team all over Australia, so you've got how many people did you say you have in your kids team?
I should know this.
Roughly?
It's maybe 30 people on full-time and part-time staff all up.
Yep, and they're distributed pretty much across Australia. Have you got a call
Darwin down to what's that thing? Tasmania. I'm from New Zealand originally, so you forgive me that it's.
So would it be possible for people to reach out to some of those guys nearby and have chats about what they're doing and things like that? So what's the best way to get in contact? Just through...
It's a great question. I think we have a Hillsong Kids at Hillsong.com email.
Yep.
You could say, hey, can you connect me with somebody? Maybe that's a good way to do it. Or there is locations on our website, and you could contact each...
The campus pastors.
The campus. Yep. Yeah, there's probably an email for each location, I think. I don't know.
There is. Yeah, there is.
You know what I mean? So you could definitely do that and just connect with the kids. But and again, as we say, some of those are on staff. A lot of them are. But look, I'm sure they'll be willing to chat with you for sure. I'd hope so.
Yeah, because I mean, those conversations, as Karen would know, are invaluable. Like the local community.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because we're a bit slower here in Adelaide than South Australia. No kidding.
I don't know.
We have to edit that out.
It is interesting. I think, but it is what you say is true. Like there's a very specific case in Sydney. In the centre and in the CBD for us, close to the CBD. It's a very different situation in some ways it's the same everywhere. But I mean, for us, even in the city is interesting because thousands of students haven't returned because we're right near the unis. So our situation is thousands of students haven't come back to study from China, from international. So, and that's impacting us in a different way than it would to maybe our Hills location. So definitely the local, it's always very valuable to look into the local, exactly what's happening.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, thanks for that chat today, Dave. So many insights. And we'll put some details up in the comments as well with those email addresses and how you can check out Hillsong Kids online and all what they're doing.
YouTube channel.
And we look forward to...
the YouTube's great. For us, it's a fantastic way. You can look into a little, see what we're doing, the external.
Yeah.
And that's we find that, very valuable.
Yep, fantastic.
That's good.
All right, well, thanks for your time today. And we'll see you online.
Cool.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, David.
All right, bye.
Bye.